You just tired of the endless grind, chasing down hundreds of little sales every single month just to try and hit your goals? If you're stuck in that loop of constantly launching, discounting, and dealing with customers who haggle over every penny, you know it's a fast track to burnout. Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down in this explainer. The strategy and the mindset you need to leave that grind behind for good and start attracting high-paying clients. Okay, let's jump right in.
I love this quote from Dan Lok. It just cuts right to the chase, doesn't it? The whole traditional sales idea of more is better is frankly broken. The real secret to scaling your business isn't about getting more sales. It's about raising the quality of your clients and the value of every single transaction. Okay, just look at the numbers here. It's pretty staggering when you see it laid out like this. On the left, you've got the path to total burnout. 309 sales, 309 customers to manage, all for the same 30 grand. But on the right, that's the power of leverage. 3 clients, way less complexity. This isn't just about making more money. It's about getting your time back so you can focus your energy where it's actually going to make a difference. All right, so how do you actually make that leap? Well, it all starts with a huge shift in how you think about what you're selling. It's got nothing to do with the price tag and everything to do with the transformation you deliver.
So let's get on the same page. What do we even mean by high ticket? We're talking about premium offers, usually starting around $3,000 and going way, way up from there. But the price is really just a reflection of the value. These aren't impulse buys. They're big investments for clients who aren't just looking for a little bit of information, they are looking for a guaranteed result.
And this is why you can't use the same approach for both. Think about it. A low-ticket buyer is all about the price and the features. They're asking, what do I get for my money? A high-ticket client, on the other hand, is totally focused on the outcome. Their question is, can you solve my problem, and can I trust you to do it right and do it fast? They're really investing in certainty.
And get this, it's not even like you have to convince them. Data from McKinsey shows that a whopping 65% of high-net-worth clients are totally fine with paying a higher fee. But, and here's the catch, they expect a premium white-glove service to go with it. See, they're not price shopping, they're value shopping.
Okay, so understanding the mindset, that's step 1. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. How do you actually build an offer that people are happy to pay a premium for?
Now this is probably the most important shift you can make. Your goal isn't to justify what you charge. Nobody cares about your costs. They care about their results. The entire conversation has to flip from what it costs them to the incredible return on investment they're about to get.
So how does this actually work in practice? Let's walk through it. First, you have to go deep and really understand the business problem you're solving. Step 2, you figure out your floor, the absolute minimum you need to charge. But step 3, that's where the magic happens. You estimate the total value your solution brings to the client. That's your ceiling. Your final price is going to live somewhere between that floor and ceiling, and you're going to back it up with an ironclad case for the value you deliver.
All right, now let's talk about the pitfalls, the common mistakes that trip people up. Don't just list features, talk about the business value. Don't ever assume you know what they need, ask really smart questions. And be specific. Instead of saying you'll improve productivity, say you'll save them 10 hours a week. And this is a big one. Always highlight the cost of doing nothing. Make it crystal clear that sticking with the status quo is the most expensive choice they can make.
Okay, you've got this amazing high-value offer. Now what? Well, the next piece of the puzzle is mastering the sales conversation. And notice I said conversation, not pitch. It's a high-stakes, consultative dialogue.
And you got to get this right because the stakes are incredibly high. Check this out. A staggering 67% of lost sales are because sales reps just didn't qualify their leads properly. That is a crazy amount of wasted time on calls that were doomed from the start. You have to filter for the right people.
Right, so even when you do everything right and get a qualified lead on the phone, you're still going to hit objections. It's just part of the game. Research shows that most of them are either that knee-jerk, not interested, or something situational, like the classic we don't have the budget. So how do the best of the best handle this?
So, what's the secret weapon here? Well, it's probably not what you're thinking. In fact, it's the total opposite of what most people do. When a top performer gets an objection, they don't jump in and talk faster. They pause for up to 5 times longer than average reps. Why? Because they're taking a breath, they're thinking, and they're planning a thoughtful response instead of just reacting.
And this right here, this is the follow-up punch. After they pause, what do? They ask a question. More than half the time, top performers are trying to clarify, to dig deeper, to understand the real reason behind the objection. They don't just throw out an answer, they try to uncover the truth.
You see how this all connects? This whole approach, the pausing, the questioning, the listening, that's what takes you from being just another seller to becoming a long-term, trusted advisor. And in the high-value world, that is the ultimate goal.
And believe me, this is so important. High-level clients, the ones with the real budgets, they don't want a salesperson. They have a dozen of those calling them every day. What they will make time for is a smart advisor who can actually help them hit their most important goals. Your role has to evolve from being about the transaction to being about the relationship.
So how do you build that executive-level trust? It's not magic. There's actually a framework for it. First, you have to speak their language, talk about their financial, quality, or competitive goals. Next, you create what's called a value hypothesis, which is just a clear statement that says, if you do this, you will get this specific result. Then you work with their team to get everyone on board. And finally, you have to follow through and make sure the value you promised actually gets delivered and measured.
And hey, this isn't just about closing the deal. The work continues. This data from McKinsey is just fantastic because it shows something so simple but so powerful. The difference between a client who's just satisfied and one who's very satisfied and way more likely to give you more business can be as simple as switching from quarterly check-ins to weekly ones. It's all about staying present and continuing to add value.
So when it's all said and done, it really boils down to this one simple but powerful question for you to think about. Look at what you're selling. Look at how you're selling it. Are you stuck in the trap of just selling your time and your deliverables, or have you made the critical shift to selling outcomes, results, and a true transformation? Because the answer to that question is going to determine everything.